ladies, we are wrapping up week 2. Let's go ahead and jump on the scales and see how you did last week. This is Sarah. 3. All right, so I have our standings here, and this is going to be after 2 weeks. After 2 full weeks in the program. Does it feel like 2 weeks? Does it feel like 2 weeks? You're like, yes, it does. It's crazy because in the beginning, the first, I think 3 or 4 weeks, like it feels like, you've been in it longer than you have. But then by the time, we get to 12 weeks, it's like, how's it going so fast? So anyway, in 7th place this week, down 0.4 pounds, 0.24%, Miss Jenna. In 6th place, down 2.1 pounds, 0.88%, Neela. In 5th place, down 3 pounds, 1.35%, Jean. In 4th place, down 5.4 pounds, 2.41%, Amy. In 3rd place, down 6.2 pounds, 2.57%, Natasha. In 2nd place, down 6.4 pounds, 3.04%, Janine, which means taking over the 1st place spot this week, down 9.5 pounds, 3.18%, Sarah. Awesome job. Awesome job. We have 3 new decades this week. So Amy is in a new decade. Amy is in the 2 teens. Less than 20 pounds from Wonderland. Sarah is in the 280s. Congratulations. Amazing job. And Jean, you are in the 2 teens. Awesome job. That's amazing. Congratulations. A new decade is always something so exciting because it's like, okay, I broke into this next family of numbers, right? And so amazing, awesome job. All right, so tonight we are going to talk about something that we've all dealt with. We have all dealt with this. We all deal with it. In fact, I think most of society deals with this at some point, and it is emotional eating. Emotional eating. And this is when we eat reacting to an emotion. And, when we think about emotional eating, how many of you have ever struggled with emotional eating? Like you were doing fine, and then all of a sudden something happened, these emotions popped up, and you self-medicated with food. I could put both hands and both legs up because I've totally been there. And here's the ironic part about it. Being overweight, it's not logical. Because right now, when we're not emotional, we know that if we get in a fight with our spouse, or if, whatever happens and we go eat a pint of ice cream, we logically know that's going to make us feel worse, not better. We logically know that's not going to help us solve the problem. But when we get in that emotion, sometimes there's something that takes over that just does it, even though we logically know it's not going to help. Because being overweight is emotional, it's not logical. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to attack this emotional thing logically. And we've got to do our best to try to be logical about it. And so what most people do is they try to attack the emotional eating from the actual eating part. And what we've got to understand is emotional eating, it's not about the eating. It starts way sooner. And so when it comes to emotional eating, we all have these things called triggers. Okay. We have events that happen to us that trigger us to eat. And if we look at the reasons why, we eat, it's because we were triggered by something. And when this one thing happened, you ever see like dominoes? You hit one domino and the rest of them go, right? So you knock the one domino over and then all this happened. And so when we're talking about emotional eating, we're not going to attack the tree on top of the ground. We're going to attack the roots of why you do it. Because if all we do is say, that's it, I'm not, okay, I understand, I'm just not going to do it anymore. I just shouldn't eat when I get mad at my spouse. I shouldn't eat when I'm sad. I shouldn't eat when I'm lonely. I shouldn't want pizza when I want to celebrate. Yeah, that's logical. But again, this is not logical. It's all emotional. And so when it comes to finding your triggers, we all have them. We all have different triggers. And we're going to talk about triggers tonight. I'm going to give you some examples of what some of mine are. But this is something that most people never think about. For some of you, you're going to be like, I've never thought about emotional eating that way before. But starting tonight, you're going to be able to start identifying why you emotionally eat, why you've emotionally eaten in the past. And so when it happens again in the future, because here's the thing, you're never going to get rid of emotions. You're never going to get rid of dealing with other humans. You're never going to get rid of feeling disappointed. You're never going to get rid of your boss or your employees being jerks sometimes. You're never going to get rid of a hurricane coming at you. You're never going to get rid of, not liking the political scene. You're never going to get rid of all those things, like the things that are out of our control. And so it's never about the circumstances, it's about how we respond and how we react. And so I'm going to give you a tool or a perspective so that the next time you're triggered, you're going to be able to respond in a different way versus eating, which we all know only makes things worse. Okay. So a lot of us, if we think about emotional eating, for a lot of us, this started when we were younger. A lot of us, emotional eating started when we were younger. So for instance, you couldn't leave the table until all of your food was gone off your plate. And so you were taught that you were basically punished, or this one, you're not going to get any dessert if you don't eat all your food, if you don't finish all your food. So now we've linked, okay, well, I'm not going to, I got to overstuff myself. I'm bad. I'm good if I eat all my food, and I'm bad if I don't. And then we linked dessert to having a treat, having a reward, to eating all of our food. To sometimes, to this day, like my husband grew up like this, and we go for years, he would go to a restaurant and he would eat his food. And if I had food left over, he'd eat that food because it bugged him so much to leave any food on a plate. Like he was just like, no, like, hey, give me your plate. And I was like, babe, he's like, well, you're wasting food. And I'm like, yeah, we're paying for the food, but A, we can take it home. B, like later you're going to pay for these, like you're going to pay somewhere. Like I'd rather pay the restaurant and waste the food than pay later the doctor because, you're 50 pounds overweight. Like you're going to pay somewhere. And so another one, how many of you, when you were younger, you got really good grades on your report card and you got, let's go get ice cream, let's get pizza, let's go out to eat. Oh my gosh, you got all A's. Or, oh, you just won the Little League, let's all go get ice cream. Like I can remember totally being rewarded with food whenever I did something good. So food was a reward. So now, again, does anyone remember the story about Pavlov's dog? And the dog was conditioned that every time they rang this bell, he was going to eat. And so it got to the point where they rang the bell and his saliva glands, without even seeing food or smelling food, he would start salivating in anticipation for eating as soon as he heard the bell. So for a lot of us, our emotional eating started when we were younger. Because think about all the emotions that you have. Think about all the reasons that we eat. We can eat because we're happy. It can be like, I'm happy, I'm excited, I had a good day, I want a drink, I want pizza. We can eat because we're celebrating. We can eat because we're sad. We can eat because we're mad. I was a big mad eater. I would eat and clean. scrub something and then go eat some chocolate, scrub something and then go eat some peanut butter. Maybe dip the peanut butter in the chocolate. When it comes to our triggers, these are the triggers that again cause us to eat. So let's talk about some triggers, okay? Some triggers might be driving. Driving can be a trigger. Driving used to be a huge trigger for me. I would get in the car, I would be driving, I would immediately notice all the fast foods. If we were on a road trips were a huge trigger because road trips were supposed to be stopping at the gas station, stopping at Buc-ee's, getting the snacks, getting the hot nuts with the cinnamon sugar glaze on them. So driving, being in the car can be a trigger. Work can be a trigger for some of you. For some of you, you react to work in a stressful way. And so or for some of you, you work in an environment where free food is brought in, and that can be a trigger. For some of you, success can be a trigger because the worst thing about success is a little bit. And so we start succeeding, we start feeling good about ourselves, and then we want to eat. Okay, so that can be a trigger. Another trigger can be loneliness. Late nights, time can be a trigger. Nighttime was a huge trigger for me. Nighttime would roll around and I could be good all day long, all day long. Social situations, social pressure can be a trigger. Holidays. And again, this is an event. This is something that happens and it makes us feel like we want to eat, right? So you're in a social situation. Everybody else is drinking. Everybody else is eating the food that's there. And we don't want to have water because we don't want to feel left out. And we don't want to pack our food and look silly or stupid or not belong or make somebody else be inconvenienced or whatever story we tell ourselves to why we don't want to pack our freaking food. Weekends can be triggers. You got done with work, you made it to the weekend, TGIF and barbecues and all the things, that can be a trigger. Holidays can be a trigger. And it's so sad. Inside of our country, holidays have become more about the food than the meaning of the holiday. And here's what you got to know. Everything we believe is because someone told us to believe that. Most of our beliefs have not come from us designing our life and how we want to live it. Most of our beliefs have come from other people and other things, media, magazines, Instagram, our, teachers at school. Like we were born a blank slate, but we're influenced by everything and everybody around us. So our beliefs are typically a combination of who we are around. And so holidays, so here's my thing, like who said Christmas was all about Reese's peanut butter cups and cookies and all the food, right? Or who, like there's a bigger meaning, I'm just using Christmas as an example, but there's a bigger meaning behind Christmas than all the freaking food and gaining 10 pounds or gaining 5 pounds or whatever it is. And so holidays can be a huge trigger. Hey, the first step in tackling emotional eating is what triggers me. And all of us, when you start looking at it, you're going to have typically the same 2 or 3 that are like your biggest ones. These are the ones that are going to trigger you over and over. And how do you know it's a trigger? Because when it happens, you immediately want to eat. When it happens, you want chocolate. When it happens, you want to drink. When it happens, you think about eating. And you're going to be okay. What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling mad. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling this. Okay, so when I feel sad, when I feel lonely, when this happens, when my boss is a jerk, or when I'm disappointed, or whatever it is, I want to eat. Or when I have a really good weigh-in, this is a huge one. I've had several people inside of the program and I had to call them out and be like, what the frick are you doing? Like, stop it. They would have a really good weigh-in on Monday and then they would go cheat because then they were like, I got 6 days till the next weigh-in. I can get this off. So success was the trigger. Every time they had some success, they would go eat because they're like, look at me, I did awesome. I deserve this. And so all of us are going to have different ones. And here's what happens. When you start looking for them, you start seeing them. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to make a plan for when it happens next time, because you're not going to get rid of the triggers. You're not going to get rid of being disappointed. You're not going to get rid of the holidays. You're not going to get rid of your kids and them hurting your feelings or letting you down. They're little humans. Like even the best parents kids do stupid stuff. It's part of the life experience. Like how many of y'all have done stupid stuff? How many of y'all lied to your parents? I totally did. What makes me think mine aren't going to? Like, of course they're going to. Our pastor, he's always like, listen, some of y'all think your kids are little angels. He's like, they were born sinners. He's like, no one has to teach them how to say no in mine. Like, those are the things, he goes, the things that we have to make them do is share. We have to teach them how to share. We have to teach them sharing is caring. Because if we left our kids unto themselves and someone came up and took their toy, they'd be like, bam, it's my truck. So that's what our kids do naturally. You'll find out, Jenna. Doesn't make them a bad kid. It makes them human. They're human. And so we're never going to get rid of the triggers. So it's not trying to avoid mean people. It's not trying to avoid success. It's not trying to avoid being by yourself, but it's trying to create a new habit or a new reaction, a new way, a new set of actions that we have when this emotion happens, when this trigger happens. So I figured out, okay, when my kids do something that's disappointing, I want to eat. Are my kids never going to disappoint me again? No, they're human. Of course they're going to. And I need to react like a human and not be, irrational, illogical with them either. So it's like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. The next time my kids disappoint me or they make a decision, they put their head up their butt, they forget how to honor, they forget how to be honest, they forget, to do the things we taught them to do. Instead of reacting, instead of eating, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to get a 33-ounce bottle of water out of the refrigerator, and I'm going to go sit on the front porch and I'm going to drink my cold water. And then when I'm done, I will come in and talk to them. So for me, by the time I sit on my front porch and I'm outside and I'm in nature and it's quiet and I drink my cold water, I come in, the feeling of eating has left. I'm no longer responding out of anger and hurt. I can now have a rational conversation that's not going to hurt them. I can help them do better in the future. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. All right. The next time, my husband and I both work from home. Okay. Our house is just under 6,000 square feet. We have we each have an office in our home and all of that. Right. So we both work from home, which means our kids are homeschooled. So our entire family unit is home all day. So the next time my husband does whatever he's going to do, that's going to tick me off. Love my husband, but he's a human. Is my husband going to tick me off ever again in the future? Yeah. So the next time he ticks me off, instead of talking back or spouting off or doing whatever or eating, I am going to go take a shower with a shower steamer. Or I'm going to walk down our driveway and back. Our driveway is a third of a mile long. So I'm going to walk down the driveway to the gate and come back. So I had to start making these plans of next time this happens, here's what I'll do. So the next time I have a hard day, instead of going through the drive-through and picking up takeout because I've had a hard day and I don't want to cook, I'm going to have some meals prepped in the freezer, like spaghetti squash lasagna, like egg roll in a bowl. And I'm going to have some of these things prepped that I can pull out of the freezer. I'm going to have 5 of them at all times in the freezer, and I can pull them out and put them in. And I'm going to come home and I'm going to do a face mask. Okay. And so number 1, recognize your triggers. Number 2, the next time the trigger happens, because we can't get rid of it, what will we do instead? And so what we're doing is now it's like, okay, no, my kids disappointed me. I got to play for that. It's like, the Chiefs are playing tonight. They know that, okay, if we get to this point in the game and this happens, here's the play that we run. They open up the playbook. They got to play when the Lions played yesterday. They knew that when we get to this situation, here's the play. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to handle it. They're not waiting to get to the middle of the game and being like, oh my gosh, we're in this situation. Like, what do we do now? Like, what should we do? That's not what they're doing. They got to play and they run the play. So what is in your playbook for the next time you run into this situation? What's your play? What's your go-to? What formation will you have? What will you do when this happens again? Because it's going to happen again. Okay. Question for you guys this week is, obviously in the past 45 minutes, we've talked about triggers. And I've given you lots of examples. So what is one trigger that you need to address ASAP off the top of your head? And what is something, instead of emotionally eating, that you could do instead? Okay, beautiful.
So one of my triggers is just news that you see on your phone, maybe someone posted, or I'd say social media. That just keeping it like that. So in the past you might complain about it to your spouse, or grab something to eat. So I'm gonna show you how much I feel by eating this cookie in this way, So I think one of the things is just to put down the phone and just step away. You don't need to be on the phone as much as you think you do. And yeah, I think that's gonna be definitely a trigger I'm gonna be watching moving forward.
Thank you, Carmen. And one of my triggers is when I'm mad, actually. Sorry. For example, me and my husband usually like in a long distance relationship at first. Like, when you are mad or something is not right and you don't want to release it, like you don't want to talk to nobody about it, and you feel like, okay, you know what I'm gonna do is just stay home, eat, watching Netflix, and that was my biggest problem. And the second one is the weekend stress. Like you work Monday to Friday and you feel boring at home, like not doing anything. And next time that happens, I want and I will try to, I mean, not try, I will go to the gym, put my headphone on and work out. That's what I want to do.
For me, it's I know very well what my trigger is, and it hasn't just been reaching for food. When it happens, I've reached for cigarettes, I've reached for alcohol, and it's honestly feeling like any difficult emotion, which is really um I think like what it's communicated to me through my life is just like how emotionally um I don't want to call it immature, but how emotionally unevolved I've been my whole life, because it's really hard for me to feel difficult emotions. Um, and so when I feel something that's hard for me to feel, I don't even know what to do. And then I usually, if there's someone around me, which thankfully I have a lot of wonderful people around me, most of the time I have a ton of friends, and I reach for people, and a lot of people have gotten me through. But if there's like one, mistake or one drop of a ball, or somebody can't be there for me at that time, I just crumble and I reach for food. And so from now on, I will, because I've learned this over the last couple of years, I will just stop and actually feel my emotion. And I'll do that through either breathing deeply or going outside and walking with my headphones on, listening to some good music. So I can just actually feel what I'm feeling.
So I don't know if this like is like I have like two, but I would say that a main trigger for me is like every time I lose weight, um, and I have that, like you said it, like when you have the success of like losing weight, I'm like, oh, let me just like nibble on this, it won't hurt or things like that. And then when I'm like really super happy and doing like fun things with my husband, I just tend to like just eat. And like before that, like I dated like shitty guys and they were very shallow. So I was always thin. And then once I dated my husband, he just like that was thinks that I'm the most beautiful person ever till this day. And like, I'm just like, oh, he's gonna think I'm beautiful no matter what. And he still does, but I just keep eating. Um, so that's why. And then like the thing that I will do to stop that is in the past, what I used to always do is drink tea. So I'm a big tea drinker. So I can drink tea or also like do like kind of like a yoga meditation. And just like if I don't have tea in front of me or whatever it is, I can do that or drink water. So those are like a few things that I like think will help me to stop that. Especially next week we're going camping and I know there's going to be s'mores and stuff and I'm happy with my husband and I'm just like I can't do it. I'm just going to drink a bunch of water and have like my bar or like my protein or whatever I have. So, yeah.
All right, so my trigger is dinner. Yes, every day. So like dinner is a time where we all sit down and we eat together, and it's like you want to have something good and all these things. And so like my food hasn't been that exciting. Um, so like today, so I already started, which is like, this is crazy that you said, I was like, I didn't know that was a trigger, but I was like, I gotta find a better way to deal with dinner because it's not like what I wanted to be. So today I asked everyone what were they proud of from their day and what do they want to work on. And so now we'll have something that will be an ongoing thing every day, and the food won't be such a emphasis for me to like, I'm looking for this food, like having something more where it's like the food is just our energy, like it's not this thing that we looking forward to every day, which is a thing like dinner and family together is a thing. Because when I was little, we didn't really do that except on like Thanksgiving. So it's like every day, everybody sit down and eat dinner together. That's a rule. And so then I started making food the thing. And so trying to restructure it. Because I just have like lettuce and stuff. So it's like, this is not exciting. So that's what I have already started to do, and I will continue to do, just bring other things in that will make it about the time and what it's really about.
I would say one of my biggest triggers is definitely after the kids go to bed. And it's like my husband and I, it's our time together, and we might have however much time before we go to bed. And oftentimes that just would mean, it could be wine, it could be ice cream, it could be, whole setup of things, cheese, crackers, salami, whatever. But definitely now I am making a cup of tea and picking up a book instead. And then, him and I both can kind of just sit side by side and read a little bit. And then we might talk. And that has definitely helped to have something else replace it for me in my hands. So that's it. I have a lot of triggers though. So
All right, so mine, just like Amy, I have lots of triggers too, but the biggest one is probably, running my business and, losing a client or not getting a new client you think's coming on. And, so it's, there's stress there, or, sometimes I have clients that are jerks and, just dealing with those. And it just, I always just want to eat afterwards. I'm like, oh my God, I've had such a stressful day. I had this meeting, this guy was a jerk, and, and I just want to eat. And hopefully none of my clients watch this, but yeah, so that's a big one for me is work. And so what I'm going to do differently is go for a walk if the weather's permitting, because a month from now it's going to be colder, so that won't be an option always, but also meditating. doing a guided meditation, going to my meditation room and just sitting and putting on a guided meditation and, really working through that and getting that stress out that way instead of through food.
This is such a huge thing, and I really want to encourage you guys this week to dive all into this, to keep giving this everything you've got, to really look for the triggers, to start to make your playbook of health, your playbook of how you're not only going to lose the weight, but how you're going to keep it off once you lose it. And so that way you have this playbook and you know, when I get in this situation, here's what I'm doing. When this happens, here's what I'm doing. There's no more guesswork. There's no more like dealing with stress as it comes. You know what your triggers are and you know how you're going to deal with them the next time they come. And it is a game changer.